Halloween Kills has been getting a mixed reception. It's either you love the film or you hate the film. And me, you could say I'm on the side of loving the film. I don't love it yet. I've seen it one time. I have to watch it again to see if I really love it. But I think it's a great movie. It's a great Halloween sequel, the greatest of all Halloween sequels. And it's damn near just as good as the original film. And so what I want to address with this video is some of the negative comments people have been making about this movie. Like, for one, people talk about Jamie Lee Curtis being sidelined in here. And that's understandable because, yeah, the classic opinion is of Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2. It sucks that Laurie Strode is in the hospital a majority of the film in a comatose state, not doing anything till the very end, and then she's just doing dumb shit at the end. And in Halloween Kills, she pretty much does the same thing, but she's not in a comatose state. But she's sidelined for a majority of the film. She's in the hospital bed, and she's just doing stuff at the hospital. But then it makes sense with the continuity of these films, because this picks up immediately after Halloween 2018 ends. And Laurie Strode is an elderly woman. But yes, she can go toe-to-toe with Michael. And she did, and she got stabbed for it. She's bleeding. We even see in a scene in the movie where they're performing surgery on her to seal up her wound. So of course she's going to be in the hospital. Even in the movie when she's moving around, when everyone thinks, oh yeah, Michael's here, she can't even keep up with everybody because she's in pain and she's hurt. She like stumbles and falls because of the mob is like bum rushing everybody. Very chaotic. So it makes sense that she's not in a majority of the film because she's injured. If this had picked up maybe a few years later, then it wouldn't have made sense because it's like, bro, it's a few years later. She should be fine. But this is immediately after the end of the 2018 movie. So it makes sense she's in the hospital. And then the beauty of it is that instead of focusing on Laurie, because even this movie mentions, and this is the problem I had with 2018 movie, where Laurie is constantly obsessed with Michael, but Michael isn't obsessed with Laurie. At least we don't think he is. He doesn't talk, so we really don't know what he's feeling. We can only assume. But his actions speak louder than words. I mean, he didn't know where Laurie lived, even if he did want to go after her. Even in Halloween Kills, they mention Allison, the granddaughter, mentions that Michael is not after Laurie. Sartain brought Michael to Laurie. That was Sartain's obsession, not Michael's. Laurie's going crazy about Michael, but Michael's not going crazy about Laurie. So I like that they mentioned that in this movie. So to me, that just makes 2018 Halloween even more rich in story because they expand on it. They point out some of the problems I had with 2018, like, okay, is there really a Laurie-Michael obsession? And this movie points it out clear as day. No, there's not. But then I love that hysteria. It's like mass hysteria because then it's like Laurie thinks Michael's after her and that she won't give up on that theory. And then the daughter of Laurie, Karen, in the 2018 movie, she didn't believe her mom and all this boogeyman nonsense. She's very naive. And in this movie, perfectly Piggy's back off of her character because she's still naive, but she believes her mother this time around. So when they learn that Michael's still alive, she's all obsessed with like, you need to bring security guards here because Michael's after my mom. And then Laurie believes Michael's coming after her, so they believe that Michael's coming to the hospital. But then Allison's like, no, I was there. I saw Sartain bring Michael to Laurie. Michael's not coming here. But then Laurie and Karen won't listen because of what they've experienced. So I like that Laurie gets sidelined and we get to focus on other characters. We get to focus on Haddonfield. They bring back Tommy, who I thought Michael C. Hall gave a fantastic performance as Tommy, even though that's not the original actor. And with Michael C. Hall's performance in this movie, I believed him as this character. He still feels like that little boy who's constantly reliving that same horrific night when he first experienced the boogeyman. And just with his performance alone, like, it was a little odd, like at some sort of talent show or something at a local bar, he's bringing all this up, but it seems like it was a tradition for the survivors of Michael every year to go out there and do that. And with Michael C. Hall's performance, like you can see the sweat just coming out of his pores in this movie. He's so intense, and they even emphasize on that when they have a close up on his face when he's talking, and the intensity coming out of his voice, and then just how sweaty he gets. He's like very emotional about this, to the point where he's willing to do whatever it takes to, when he learns that Michael's back, he is like, I'm gonna get this son of a bitch. And I'm with him, but at the same time his methods are a little off. So I like this subtle characterization of him where it's like he believes he's doing the right thing, which he is. He's trying to, protect Henfield and everything. But at the same time, he's still that, you look in his eyes. Even when he goes to the hospital to speak to Laura, he still seems like that scared little boy. And he's just putting on a front. He's just putting on a mask, trying to be brave, and really deep down inside, he's terrified. That's what I felt coming from his character. Like, Michael C. Hall crushed it as Tommy. I believed him as that character. Like there's a scene where Tommy grabs this baseball bat. I forgot what they called it. But he grabs the bat, and then they believe Michael's in this car. And at first I thought the scene was kind of goofy because it's like the way he's standing and how he's standing with holding the bat over his shoulder. And he's just looking at the camera like, yeah, strike a pose. But then just Michael C. Hall's performance, I look at his face and I see that I get a sense that he wants to be brave, but deep down he's fucking terrified. He is scared. And I think if that was the intention, Michael C. Hall executes that perfectly. He executes this man who is really scared, but he's gonna be brave, but deep down inside he's like, man, I don't know. But he's like putting on a good face and a good front, and he's just like, I'm gonna do this, but then his methods aren't all the way there. So I like that emotional layer. So then when he gets killed at the end, he looks into the eyes of the boogeyman. This man he's been fearing his whole life. He looks into the eyes of Michael as he's dying. And it was so fucking sad. And I wish they didn't kill him, because they killed all the legacy characters except for Lindsay. They didn't kill Lindsay. Lindsay's still alive, I think. And because she just disappears after they find her, and then you never see her again. But yeah, I understand why they sidelined Lori, because she's injured. She's in the hospital recovering. And so and they build all these other characters in Henfield, like Lonnie. He has these emotional beats with Allison when he talks about Allison's dad. And then Allison has a whole lot more to do here. Like, her drive is so important because they bring up her dad, which in the 2018 film, I was like, okay, yeah, her dad. But in this movie, it makes 2018 more richer with her father's death, because throughout the whole movie, she's crying about her dad. And she's like, my dad got killed. I loved him. And then Lonnie brings up the story about her dad, and he did drugs, and he took his pants off and jumped in the water. And that made me think about her dad. So I feel the emotion there, and her drive and what she's doing and why she's going after Michael. She's like, he killed my father, and I want to protect other people. I don't want other innocent people to get killed. And she's like motivated like my dad. That's her whole driving factor throughout the whole movie, is her dad. So I love that. It makes 2018 even a richer film for me. And then another thing I hear people saying is that, okay, the movie ends, I don't know, on a cliffhanger, and the boogeyman's still out there. It's clear they're gonna do Halloween Ends. And then I heard some people saying, well, the 2018 Halloween movie had a definitive ending. No, it didn't. They clearly wanted to play. They clearly had. I'm pretty sure they planned out this from the very beginning before they even started shooting Halloween 2018. They already knew they were going to do a trilogy. They left 2018 open-ended as well, because we didn't see Michael burn. If we would have saw Michael burn like in the original Halloween 2, then that would have been like, okay, he's dead. But we don't see him burn. We even hear him breathing at the end of the credits, which I guess don't mean anything. It's like, bro, they already had planned out this trilogy. So for me, with Halloween Kills and the way it ends, it pretty much ends like the original movie. You could say that ends on a cliffhanger too, because Michael didn't die in that movie. He disappeared. He vanished. Even though John Carpenter's intentions were noble, he's like, look, he's the boogeyman. You can't kill the boogeyman. You can't kill it. He's out there somewhere. You have no idea where he is. But I guarantee if that movie were to be made today, the original Halloween were to be made today and released, people would be like, oh, it ends on a cliffhanger. They're going to release another one. Why didn't they just have a definitive ending where Michael gets killed? Halloween Kills ends the exact same way, pretty much the same way as the original Halloween, where evil triumphs. And it's a somber ending because evil is still out there and it can't be killed. Like in Halloween Kills, bro, they really illustrate Michael Myers as the boogeyman. Like, they mention that the motherfucker reappears and disappears all the time. I hated the fact they didn't keep him in the shadows, because that's his trademark. He lurks in the shadows. But in this, it's like Michael goes Super Saiyan on everybody. And he's just like brute force, vicious, and I'm like, I feel it. And the kills have emotional weight to them. And so with like this, the ending, I feel like they could perfectly be like, yeah, evil wins, he's the boogeyman, and you just can't kill it. You don't have to have Halloween Ends. But then it's beautiful, because then I'm anticipating Halloween Ends. Because at the very end, when Michael kills Karen, it's sad, and then especially when they show the transition of Laurie just in the hospital not being aware that her daughter's being killed. That just builds up the momentum of like, oh, shit is about to go down and Halloween Ends. Like, just knowing that Laurie's obsessed with Michael, then learning in Halloween Ends that her daughter's dead at the hands of Michael, she is going to go on the hunt, man. Let me tell you. It's going to be... I can't wait. So just setting that up, for me, it's two aspects. It's like, this is a solid ending for the movie because it ends like the original. The boogeyman is real. Boogeyman can't be killed, can't be stopped. He's still out there. Just like in the original film. He didn't die. It ends on a cliffhanger. It's like, oh, he's still out there somewhere. But that's the end of the movie. There's no sequels until it made a lot of money. And that's the same way with this. It's like, the boogeyman is real. And the thing I hated about 2018 Halloween is that they kind of diminished the boogeyman factor. When it's like you got Sartine and all this stuff and he's helping Michael, I really didn't like that. And I like the fact that in Halloween Kills, Michael is on his own. He's just killing people, no help from anyone. I loved it. So yeah, it's just like, yeah, I understand why Laurie's sideline. It makes sense because we can have emphasis on the other characters and it's great. And I love the ending of this movie because it's like the boogeyman is real. He can't be killed. He can't be stopped. It ends like the original movie, in my opinion. And then another thing, I know there's some people saying like the kills in here are just kills and there's no creativity to it. I beg to differ. I feel that even though there may not be any creativity with these kills, like something spectacularly elaborate or something, I really feel like there is more emotional weight to these kills, and that's what makes the scenes more horrific. It's because like the scene where the black lady and her husband get killed, and I don't know their character's name, so I just call them that. But she was in the 2018 Halloween film as she was the cemetery lady telling the story about Michael. And she shows up in a brief scene, you know, it's like standard stuff. It's like, okay, you show these characters in their environment and their element, and then they get disturbed by this force that they can't control, and then they get killed, and we move on. And that's what happens here, but the emotional weight of it, it's like, bro, it's sad because it's like, okay, Michael shows up and it's building the intensity. Michael pops out and kills the husband. Then he stabs the black lady, and it's sad because she's like begging for her life and he just kills her brutally, and you see the brutality of it. It's horrifying. It's like cool visually and it's impressive and it looks real, but it feels sad. And then he drops the light bulb and you hear the glass shatter, and then the other sad moment of it is like this lady's dying slowly. And Michael's just stabbing the shit out of this guy. He's grabbing multiple knives here. And so I'm thinking multiple things during this moment. I'm like, it's very sad that your last moments in life, you're watching your husband die, getting stabbed by this killer while you're slowly dying at the same time. So that shot was beautiful. Like, you see her eyes and she's still alive and she's gasping for air and she can't do anything but lay there. And then the camera slowly pans over to Michael stabbing the shit out of her husband while she's watching. That's so sad to me. Even though we didn't really spend time with these people, I think what they did and how they did it was brilliant to make me feel that it's not just a death and we move on, even though it is, but they add some emphasis on the emotional impact of it. And then another thing I'm thinking is like, Michael is just pure fucking evil, and they illustrate that. He's like, Michael's just picking knives, like, oh, this knife's not good enough. Oh, that's nice. This nice. He's just stabbing the guy. It's like, dude's clearly dead already, bro. What are you doing? It's so horrific. And then he just picks a knife, like, oh, this is the perfect one, and he walks away. You know? So I'm thinking, like, Michael, did they just illustrate Michael is just a crazed killer? He's the boogeyman. He's just a sick, psychotic individual with no rhyme or reason for what he's doing. He just likes to kill people. So I'm thinking multiple things during moments like that. So I love the emotional weight of the kills in this movie, and the emotional fact that the characters have this trauma that they're dealing with, and they may not be developed 100% or fully done in full depth detail, but I feel like I get just enough from the performances and from knowing who these characters are that I understand what they're doing, even though they may be going about it in the wrong way. I enjoy some of the subtlety of it. And then some of it, even though it's not so subtle, like with the psychotic patient who comes in and I think it's a little silly because like the close-ups on his face and it's like trying to be like over serious, and then he jumps and you see the splatter on the ground, which is horrific. And then Brackett comes out like, we're monsters and all that. It could have been a bit more subtle, but I loved it because it's like, yeah, you guys are monsters. Michael turns you into this, you know? So I love that mob mentality in the movie. It's great. So yeah, all the way around, I have some problems with this movie, but the just the emotional factor of it, and just the atmosphere and the approach of the characters and Michael and just everything is just so, it overshadows all the goofiness to me, you know? And this, like, I'll bring up the ending again. It's kind of like Infinity War. This movie's kind of like Infinity War to me, where, like, you go in thinking, okay, yeah, it's an Avengers movie, and the heroes are going to win because it's an Avengers movie. That's just what's going to happen. You know this. This is what all movies do. People love happy endings. And then so I'm thinking, is Thanos going to win? Is he going to lose? They keep going back and forth, and then the Avengers lose. People get dusted. You know they're going to come back, but I feel the weight of them being dusted. And the movie just ends with Thanos winning. And it's sad, and you're like, it ends on a cliffhanger. There's no solid conclusion. Clearly they're going to do Endgame. But then I look at Infinity War as the definitive ending of the Marvel franchise. You can totally look at it as like, yeah, Infinity War is the end of the Marvel franchise. The heroes lost, Thanos wins, and that's the end of the day. And you can totally look at it that way. Just like you can look at Halloween Kills. It's like, oh man, Boogeyman is real. He can't be stopped. He can't be killed. He disappears off into the ether, and that's that. It's so sad. Just like the original Halloween movie. They shot him off the balcony. Evil is dead. He's vanquished. And then Loomis looks and he's gone. And then you hear the breathing at the end and seeing all the locations he's been in. And it's like, nope, evil triumphs. Somber. He's out there floating in there in the ether somewhere. We have no idea where he is, but we'll never see him again. And that was the intention of the original movie. So this ends just like that. Halloween Kills ends just like the original movie. The boogeyman is still out there. So it's two things. It could end like this if you really wanted it to. Or, you know, when Halloween Ends comes out, it builds that anticipation for me. Like, damn, Laurie, when she finds out her daughter's dead, she's going to be even more pissed. So yeah, man, I think this movie's great. Even though I've only seen it once, but I feel so passionately about it. That when every time someone says something negative about it, I'm just like, I understand where you're coming from, but hear me out for a second, because here's my opinion. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. I understand, you know, I think, but I really think that this movie is just like, it may not be very deep or anything, but I feel like it's deep enough for a Halloween film. It's the deepest out of all the Halloween movies. Like, people gonna bring up Halloween 2018 as being like, you know, about trauma, and it is, but then to me it just feels like a remake of H2O. The H2O already tread that water already, you know, to the point where I was like, well, this isn't really anything new, you know. That's my problem with 2018, is that it's just recycling stuff that had been done before. With Kills, this is something completely different. We haven't seen a Halloween movie like this before, I don't think, where it really emphasizes on the town. Like, they've had little sprinkles of it, like in, you know, Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2, and then Halloween 4 with, you know, the rednecks and stuff. But in this, they really focus on that mob mentality, and I feel it. Like, the hospital sequences are fantastic. Even though Laurie is sidelined, every time she's on screen, she crushes it, and then what's happening at the hospital is so fucking chaotic. Where it's like, I love it. And yes, the story goes all over the place. We're following all these different characters, but I feel these characters because I understand the reasoning for them doing what they're doing, even though they may be going about it in the wrong way. And I love it. I love it. Mass is great. It's a great movie. That's all I have to say.